What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So as you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking about one of the most asked questions that I get, and that is about supplements and weight loss. Now, for this video, I brought on my friend Dillon, who is much more qualified to talk about this, and we had a great conversation. I'm really excited because I think a lot of people, they see supplements and they think that it's going to be this magic pill that's going to solve all their problems. And when it comes to weight loss, that's just not the case. When it comes to weight loss, nutrition is by far the most important thing. And if that's not 100% dialed in, I think that you shouldn't be really wasting much time or money on supplements. But I wanted to make this video because if you are someone that maybe your nutrition is dialed in or you are planning on getting all that dialed in, I wanted you to be able to watch this video and feel confident if you do decide to go into a supplement store and make some purchases, because I don't want you to be wasting your money. But without further ado, let's get into the interview. Thank you so much for being on the channel. I'm super excited. Just for maybe some of the people that might not know who you are and like why you're on the channel, if you could give us like a short background of that, that'd be great.
Sure, I'll try to keep it quick, but my name's Dillon. I've been friends with John for how long? 3 years now? Something like that? Yeah. It's been a while already. Much like John, I lost up to 150 pounds. So I had an extreme weight loss transformation. That's kind of how John and I became friends. I then went into coaching and physique coaching, and we're talking. I'm shortening a decade's worth of time almost now. So I do have a story on John's YouTube channel somewhere way far down. If someone's more interested to learn about a little bit more,
I'll link that down in the description too.
Yeah, but I just don't want to talk their ear off about that. But so now I worked myself into fitness as a part-time personal trainer. And then full-time personal trainer, full-time online coach. And then I've always been, not always, but I got really lucky in meeting a few key people that were part of or owned supplement companies. My first coach owned a supplement company, and he was actually starting the company as I was being coached by him. So we were just kind of friends. I mean, he was my coach, but I looked up to him highly, and because I showed interest and I'm kind of nerdy and I understand things of that nature quickly, he then taught me a lot, and I got to see a lot from the manufacturing side, like what goes into the quality, what goes into the efficacious dosing, all that stuff. And so fast forward almost a decade later, I'm now part of a group of supplement stores and that I own. So kind of fun, how life makes a circle type of thing.
The reason I wanted to get you on the channel was because you're someone that if I ever have a question, I go to you, right? Like, you're the guy that I go to. So I figured, of course, yeah. And I figured it makes a lot more sense. And I think people will get a lot more value out of a video where I'm asking you questions or having you explain things, because I'm the guy that's like, you don't need supplements. And then people are like, well, but what if I want them? I'm like, yeah, you don't need them. And I'm like, maybe that's not the most helpful thing. So I'll have someone on here that, one, I do trust your opinion, and I know that you're not just going to be like, take fat burners and you'll lose 50 pounds in a week and you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, you're someone that you understand the person that's going in there looking for the fat burners. You understand what they're thinking that is going to do, and you'll explain to them, maybe it's not going to do as much as you thought.
Yeah, it's kind of a fine line. It's really fun because coming from someone who makes a living selling supplements, we pride ourselves on not, and whether that's like high levels athletes or someone just looking to lose weight, our business model is get people into the right things that are actually going to help them. And if not, we don't sell it. So you'd never walk into any of our stores and kind of like just get sold something that you have no idea, like, oh, do I even need this? Or, you're going to be explained why it's maybe good for you and how it can help, right? So supplements get painted like good or bad or black or white. And that's no different than styles of diet or anything in fitness. There's pushback from both sides. And that kind of keeps everyone in check. I'm going to be probably a little bit boring and be somewhere in the middle, And I think that's what's missing, honestly, in the supplement industry. It's kind of like it either fits everybody should be taking this one thing or these things, or nobody should, because We don't need it.
Like the way that I want to start this is, say there's someone that's coming into, you know, one of your stores, they want to talk to you, they have a lot of weight to lose. What have you noticed? Like, what is that person asking for, and what would you maybe recommend to that person? And like,
So you know what's funny? In a roundabout way, every product, I shouldn't say every, a lot of products take their turn for the same outcome. So like, and I'll dive into that. Someone will come in and say, hey, I'm starting to go to the gym, or I'm starting back at the gym, or some form of that comment. And I want to lose a little bit of weight. And these are people that, you know, maybe it's all apparent that they probably should lose a little bit of weight. And, well, I heard a BCA is good for that. Or I heard a protein's good for that. Or I heard of fat. So like, they're just inserting all of these products into this blanket category that has the same end result. And that's where I have to slow people down. And I'm like, okay, well, like today I was telling you before we went on, I had someone come in and say like, hey, I'm just trying to start to lose some weight, quite a bit of weight to lose. And what protein powder should I take to be doing that? And I was like, well, none. Well, what does your diet look like? What does, you know, protein powder is just food in a bottle. So once I explained to him what it was, he was like, oh, well, I still want it because I don't have that much dietary protein and I'm going to school, and it would be easier for me, you know, to hit 2 scoops and get my protein where it is, because protein quantity is important, but it's just overall quantity. Because it comes from a bottle, it's no different than a food source. In fact, you know, it's probably optimal to get most of your protein from food sources.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing with BCAAs. There's nothing to do with BCAAs and fat loss.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will at some point in this video touch on how they can all correlatively maybe help fat loss
Mm-hmm.
for the right context, but in causation, none. So, and fat burners being the kind of the hot topic, and I know you've picked on them a ton, and then that honestly, I'm not a huge fan, and I'll tell you why. I think there's a great place for the right fat burner, and honestly, the right fat burner is hard to find on the Canadian market. So products that I can bring into wholesale and then resell, there is one that we carry that I sell that I would feel comfortable someone taking. And it's because fat burning ingredients are very expensive. So a lot of companies are driven by money, and they don't put the right doses of stuff in the fat burners. So that's a problem. The second problem is the people that are kind of generating the monetary value of the fat burner to the supplement companies are the people that I advise should not be taking them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because most people taking them are someone like me or you when we started. That's the people coming in, or that's the people I've seen anecdotally kind of reaching to those things first. And and I've seen kind of you and Danny and everyone kind of bicker back and forth between, and the honest to God truth is a lot of times you're both right, because it depends on which audience you're talking to in context, right? So when I was prepping physique competitors or, you know, for bodybuilding shows, when you're at that last dig where energy is really low and your body is auto-regulating your steps, your NEAT, you know, your non-exercise activity, you prep, you know, you kind of just work out and sit on the couch. It's like you stop really doing stuff, you know, and with the right ingredients and a little bit of extra stimulants for a short-term solution, it can maybe help you get to that next level, you know, and it will help even someone that's obese initially. And that's why you sort of had one of the questions that came in. I might as well answer this right now. He asked, why, you know, I took a fat burner and he felt that it honest to God worked for a short amount of time. I think he said 8 weeks or something, or 4 weeks. It doesn't really matter. And then it stopped working and he started to gain some weight back. A placebo effect was kind of your take on it. And I agree. All supplements.
Yeah. Can you explain placebo to someone that might not understand that?
Placebo effect. Essentially, the mind is powerful. To simplify it, if the mind believes, the body can achieve, you know, and that sounds very cheesy, but that is a real thing. Like, it's a studied thing. You know, you can give people a sugar pill or X pill that's supposed to do something, and both groups will see the same sort of increases in whatever it is you're supposed to be increasing across multitudes of studies with supplemental science. The other thing is what probably happened is because, and this is anecdotal, so take it for what it is, but I don't know about you, but a lot of people that were the way, like as obese as me, didn't drink or utilize caffeine very often. Like, I don't know, did you drink a lot of caffeine? Besides maybe pop was my sort, but like I would, most people that struggle with weight don't like those type of robust flavors. We like sweeter things and stuff. So.
That's interesting, yeah, because I didn't start drinking coffee until I worked at Starbucks, which was after I had lost all my weight.
So all of us started having caffeine stuff after, like just in our small group. If I asked Possible Pat, if I asked Danny, anyone in our kind of, social media group that's lost significant, I just was asked over the years, and almost everyone never took caffeine. So whether that's true or not, that's just an icing on the cake. But what probably happened is there was an increase in energy. When you're not feeling good and you're obese and you're trying to get moving, it's hard. And people downplay that. That. Like, my feet used to hurt at the end of it. It's easy to sit back and say, just go outside or just go to the gym, So I have empathy for that. It's not always that physically easy. So this increase in stimulants and probably a few ingredients that, maybe we're supporting some fat oxidation if it was a good fat burner. So let's just assume it was. Probably got him moving a little more. And this is where I was going to touch with athletes or general population. Fat burners are a short-term play. It's because they're stimulant-based, and your body will adapt to stimulants. You know what I mean? So a lot of times so what happened is he probably or she went from, 1,000 steps a day to 4,000. And people don't realize how much that makes a difference in weight loss. And then once that feeling of being like you're tased went away after about 4 weeks of using stimulants, if you're not used to them, that would have just dropped back down, and the eating probably didn't change. So the meat went up temporarily and then came back down, and then that's why the weight went back to exactly baseline where it was. If I had a guess, I would bet money that that's exactly what happened.
And so what is it like in fat burners that you feel like, if it's a really good fat burner, what is that doing to help someone lose weight?
So like yohimbine is an ingredient that can help extra fat oxidation, essentially by shrinking the cell. And then you have ingredients like grains of paradise, which is new, caffeine, green tea. They all sort of olive leaf, bacopa. There's kind of maybe a handful of ingredients that act on the similar transponders, receptors, do the same thing. But it's so minuscule, okay? And that's why like, when people have said, well, a fat burner really worked for me, and it really didn't work for someone else, that's only because of how optimized someone is on this end and maybe unoptimized on this end. Because it's such a small variance, we're talking 1 to 3% difference. So if you have a moving target over here, like if your calories are kind of, even if you're close and you're eyeballing your food and your calories are moving up and down 200 calories a day, you can still lose weight, right? But adding a fat burner to that scenario, things weren't dialed in enough. Does that make sense? Like if you're trying to extract the most, so context dependent is always what I try and preach. If everything else is optimized and you have maybe the last 10 pounds to lose that for your wedding or for something, and you're weighing your food and you've got your fitness program of some sorts that's been long-term adhered to, over 6 months consistently. And then you want to add that with a plan of, I'm going to use this for 8 weeks and I'll get to this point and I might even regress a little when I come back off of it. But that's okay because I've planned for it. So they're just tools. That's how I look at it, as a tool,
Yeah.
Instead of sort of these emotional attachments because it's got the word fat burner on it, which I don't like at all. I would rather energy offsetter. Like, so there's a bunch of things I could name it that are not fat burner, because fat burning, your fat doesn't really burn, it oxidizes. Yohimbine is the only ingredient, and it's such a small variance, that can actually help oxidize fat. And maybe grains of paradise, and that's a very new, untested ingredient. So
yeah,
as you can see, I mean, I don't know all the ingredients on the planet, but I know a lot of them. There's not a lot,
Yeah.
So it's to have people just taking fat burners for absolutely no reason. Like, when literally their nutrition is not dialed in or anything, it's probably long-term worse off, because now you're going to build up a tolerance to stimulants when you should be utilizing those stimulants to try. If you're going to utilize stimulants, that should be based around a workout or a fitness regime or a class, something, because we're someone who's in your and I's shoes. We need all the help we can get.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to be just shooting bullets in the air that I could be hitting a target with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that, like you touched on it, my main issue with fat burners is the name, because there are, like you said, there are things that are in it that make you maybe want to move a little bit more, which might help you burn a little bit more calories through, like you said, NEAT, your non-energy activity thermogenesis. So there are, I'd say, a little bit of uses for it, but I think that the vast majority, like you said, the vast majority of people that are buying them don't actually need them. And so for me, it's just easier to say, don't buy them, right? Like, instead of
honestly,
going...
we have to learn to speak to our audiences, and that's what we do, right? We try to target the audiences that we know are listening to us. I don't think you're wrong in saying that, probably if you were speaking to the masses of people that follow your socials, almost nobody should be utilizing them. You know what I mean? It's probably not the time. It doesn't mean never, but there's going to be a time and a place, and probably most people are not quite there yet. Maybe, maybe they are, that's fine, but it's a way bigger percentage that are not.
So we've spent a lot of time kind of talking about why we don't like certain things, but I do want people to leave this video feeling like they learned a little bit, and like feel like, okay, if I go into a supplement store, I know what maybe might help me, right? So if you, again, same scenario, someone's coming in, have no idea, they're just like, hey, I want to lose weight. Are there any supplements in here that can help me in that endeavor and that are worth my money? What would you, and say, I mean, they are on the far end of the scale, absolutely very unhealthy, like they're just starting today. What would you recommend to that person?
So I'm gonna give you some things that I think people can take to help them. In general, these are going to be correlation effects, not causation. So It's not like, oh, I take this or drink this and now I'm just burning fat. But I'm going to give you some of the logic as to why I might recommend these things. A lot of times, if someone is trying to lose weight and they don't have a vast nutritional knowledge, especially someone who is going to be like pre-diabetic or something like that, there's a lot of hormonal things that can be helped through proper nutrition. And the issue is most people, unless they hire a coach or a nutritionist, it's going to take them probably at least a year. Even if they're self-educated, like maybe more like you and I were, I didn't do anything right first year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like a good multivitamin. And that's not going to make you lose weight by any means, but probably people are not covering their bases of multivitamins. And there is some essential ones that if you, for instance, if you're short on magnesium and vitamin D, you're putting yourself at a much less advantageous place to lose weight, like systematically, you know what I mean, inside the body. So can it happen without? Yes, you can't beat starvation mode. If your calories are lower than what you know what I mean, than what you're expending more than you're taking in, you're going to lose weight. But I might be able to close those ratios if I optimize. So maybe something like fish oil, a multivitamin, and for like someone like myself, now I eat them all the time. So actually, I don't even take a greens powder anymore because vegetables became part of my life, and fruits. But I literally, from the time I was 10 years old to 20, I don't think I ate a vegetable. I hated them, literally. And I ate hyper palatable foods. That's why I was in the situation I was in. So a greens powder can help in context. Should everybody just be taking them because they're magic and they fix everyone's digestion and skin? No, absolutely not. But if we're honest in saying like who the audience is that's going to be maybe listening to this, probably a lot of them need to get some more fruits and vegetables in their diet. So a greens powder would probably be something I would recommend. So those are kind of the staples, okay? Those are, and if they're strength training, creatine, because it's the most studied supplement like on the planet, umpteen benefits, and now it's showing brain health benefits like in clinical trials. So, those four, and relatively inexpensive too, like $100 probably gives you a 60-day supply of all of those things, So those are like nutritional staples, and then protein powder falls in that too. Those are all things that I just consider food in bottles.
Yep.
Like I'm not getting them from my diet, and I need to, so I'm just using these as tools. So it's weird because like those ingredients, protein powder, fish oil, creatine, a multivitamin, a greens powder, those are all things I can get from my diet. If I am not, I can then optimize and start checking off the list based on budget, wants, goals, needs for one's individual self. Now I'm gonna play the devil's advocate on myself. If someone came in to me right now and said, I want one supplement that could give me kind of best bang for buck, as far as, just helping me aid in my journey of weight loss. I started going to the gym 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to eat a little bit better. I think I get a lot of protein in my diet as it is. And that's literally something that I get told a lot or get asked of a lot. And I take them to a high quality pre-workout. Mm-hmm. And whenever I say that, people kind of look at me like, ooh, that's an interesting one. The reason is it's the only supplement, one of the only supplements that a general population supplement user is going to be using that gives me an immediate return on my investment. Mm. Because honestly, it makes a big difference. Like for me, pre-workout got me started because I was interested in supplements. I tried a pre-workout, and because I never had caffeine, it was like, oh my God, I can't sit at home if I want to. I'll run to the gym at 300 pounds in the middle of the Canadian winter. You know what I mean? It was crazy. And that, I'm not saying everyone needs to get jacked up on stimulants, but there is going to be an immediate return on investment because, as you know, it takes consistency and habit building. So if that supplement, when someone purchases that, they've now financially committed to it. They intake it in their body, and most people are not going to take pre-workout and just sit on the couch. Yeah. Because it's you're going to get feeling some shit that you got to get moving, but also you invested in this thing. It's kind of like, I should get going and get going, and maybe they don't stay a pre-workout user, but if it can help them get the ball rolling, I'm all for it. And there's a lot of ingredients, like in a good pre-workout that I would recommend for someone, there's going to be crossovers and maybe some of those things I mentioned before, like creatine and things like that. So they wouldn't have to buy that separately. It's kind of like, here you go. Here's a moderate stimulant pre-workout. And I try to teach people how to manage their stimulants in a day. Like if you're utilizing this is your caffeine for the day now. So you have a decaf coffee in the morning if you want, cut the Red Bull out in the afternoon, take this pre-workout in the middle of the day. And I've helped a lot of my clients like that over the years. And so that's my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right by any means, but it's the highest return on immediate investment in a supplement.
Mm-hmm. No, I see. And I think that what you said is interesting because the supplements that you recommended for fat loss are really supplements that you would recommend to anyone at all, right? And Correct. So I think that's the main point that I was really hoping that we would get to in the video is any supplement that's for fat loss is really probably just for health and general wellness.
For all health.
Exactly. And I think that at least from my own experience, if a supplement is marketing itself as take this to lose more weight or take this to lose more fat, usually it's BS, right? There's so many things out there that can just help in general. And if you want to take that while you're losing weight, then I would, like everything that you said, I agree with 100%, right? And I think that that's what people need to realize is you can't put too much stock in supplements. Like it has to come from you first. And then these supplements, the name is literally supplement, right? It's supposed to supplement things maybe in your diet that you're missing, which even if you have a pretty good diet, you might be missing a couple things. It's pretty normal, right? And so I think that that's what I want people to understand is like, if you are searching for a supplement at the start of your journey, you need to take a step back. This is my opinion. You need to take a step back and think, why am I already looking for a shortcut? Because if that's where your mind is, from what I've seen, you're probably not going to be there for the long run. And so you need to think, what can I do on my own before I need to rely on anything?
And also, don't be scared to ask questions, Like we live in a society where we want to be informed, So like if someone goes into a store or read some reviews online. Like you'll quickly see, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look some, even if you're buying your supplements from an online retailer, you look at the reviews, it's like, oh man, a lot of these reviews are really sucky. So maybe, you kind of don't necessarily need to know what to do, but you can look out for what not to do.
Absolutely. Well, we could sit here and talk forever, but this video is already longer than I wanted it to be.
Man. My bad.
No, it's all good. I seriously appreciate you coming on and talking. And so if you guys are watching this, if you guys want like a part 2, or I might have Dillon on my podcast where we can have just talk forever. We might do that.
Longer,
yeah. So let me know down in the comments. But again, thanks so much for sharing your knowledge, man.
I appreciate you, my man.
Awesome, dude.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.